Nobody could predict that this dude would be sitting on trial for his life. It just wasn't in the cards.
That's the one. I think that we just got caught up. I think we all got caught up in a moment. We was talking about it and having secret meetings.
The FBI didn't just leak a name or two. They dropped an entire roster. A list entertainers, legacy brands, cultural icons, and now they're missing, vanished, escaped, fled. The second whispers started swirling that Diddy's release was no longer a matter of if, but when. Hollywood flipped its panic switch. Private jets screeched out of Van Nuys and Teterboro under cover of moonlight. Tails were ditched, burner phones lit up, and handlers scrambled to book last-minute flights to Dubai, Switzerland, even parts of West Africa. It's not a movie, it's not a metaphor, it's real. The exodus has begun.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're...
And it's not just panic, it's guilt, fear, remorse, self-preservation. Because whether you were deep in the inner circle or just sipping cocktails 2 degrees from the chaos, Diddy's shadow loomed large over the industry for decades. Now that shadow's stretching wider. With the trial ending in a split verdict and his release on bail imminent, insiders say Diddy has been reviewing tapes, lists, conversations, names. Some say he's got receipts from years ago, saved footage, handwritten notes, anonymous testimonials gathered by private investigators on his payroll. Hollywood isn't just running from trouble, they're running from a man they once called family.
Also, too, his sons are actually involved in the music industry, to which before he was arrested, his son made a rap song really questioning the federal government, really questioning potential witnesses to go forward against his father. So when you tie all those things together, you look at the social media dynamic, the social currency.
We've confirmed that the FBI leak includes some jaw-droppers. Jay-Z is reportedly in the south of France, not just on vacation, but according to one source, positioning for negotiation in case Diddy starts naming names. Jennifer Lopez? Rumor has it she had a private pilgrimage to Mexico, seen at a discreet spiritual compound near Oaxaca. Usher? One moment he's headlining in Vegas, the next, poof. His team says it's a break. Others say it's a tactical withdrawal. But perhaps most baffling is Justin Bieber, whose sudden silence has alarmed even those close to him. He's ghosted the press, his publicist has issued no formal comment. And yet, someone caught sight of him boarding a jet in Vancouver. Heading where? No answers yet, only questions.
That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone.
What are they so scared of? What does Diddy have on them? Or is the real question, what did they allow to happen when the cameras weren't rolling? The buzz now isn't just about the trial. It's about the so-called revenge list. That's what insiders are calling it. A hand-curated dossier Diddy's kept since the late 2000s. The betrayals. The ones who cut ties when things got sticky. The quiet denials. The public disassociations. The whispers to prosecutors. One former assistant claims that Diddy once told him, "A man who forgets who ran when the bullets flew deserves to meet me again when I'm holding the gun." He meant metaphorically, maybe, but the sentiment rings cold. Now that he's got time, resources, and motive, that list might not stay metaphorical for long. People forget this wasn't just about glitzy events and velvet ropes. These parties, they were orchestrations, elaborate sets, where reputations were bought and buried. Witnesses have described rituals, initiation games, secret rooms, blacked out phone pouches, rules whispered behind closed doors, and yet some came back, again and again. For what? Fame? Power? Leverage?
I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head.
Terrence Howard broke ranks first. A few months ago, he stunned viewers on a podcast with the kind of story that sounds like a fever dream until you realize it's part of a bigger pattern. He described being invited by Diddy under the pretense of acting lessons, only there were no scripts, no coaching, just Diddy staring, waiting, like he was trying to size me up, Terrence recalled. The most chilling part, the silence, the absence of intent, as though the whole thing wasn't about a lesson, it was about a test, about control.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the
Hell
consequences
yeah.
when
I mean,
you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay.
Terrence didn't bite. He left, and now he's naming names. His warnings about men who give up their man card at Diddy's parties aren't just jabs. They're confessions wrapped in caution tape. He says once you do that, you go fluid. And once you go fluid, it's gone. What he's really saying, once you give into that world, you don't get yourself back. And judging by who's fleeing now, some are only realizing that too late.
Will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication.
It's not just the men. Multiple sources say female celebrities have paid their dues at these parties. Sometimes literally, sometimes in the form of silence. Others allegedly traded something far deeper: their image, their innocence, their autonomy. As Terrence put it, they have their Oscar, their money, but they don't have the soul they started with. No names were mentioned, but anyone paying attention knows that silence can be louder than accusations.
Now you know to be hands-off with somebody. A number of producers come in to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept.
And if you think this is all just cryptic philosophy, think again. Ray J, yes, that Ray J, just dropped a bomb in a recent documentary. He claimed that high-profile celebs have been reaching out to alleged victims of Diddy's freak-offs, trying to buy their silence before subpoenas land. He didn't name names, he didn't have to. The implication was clear: some of the most recognizable faces in music and Hollywood are terrified that their participation or their proximity could be exposed. One investigator claims Diddy had hidden cameras embedded in fixtures, mirrors, speakers, that his mansions were wired like sound stages. If that's true, those tapes are more valuable than gold and more dangerous than evidence.
I've lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that because the man card means everything.
I had no idea we're going to go this direction with the podcast.
Cat Williams warned us too. Months ago, the comedian predicted 2024 would be the year all the deviants catch hell. He said he turned down $50 million 4 times to protect himself because, in his words, P. Diddy be one at party and you gotta tell him no. His warnings now sound less like jokes and more like prophecies. He wasn't just being dramatic, he was issuing a survival manual. Even Usher, who once lived with Diddy as a teen, has walked back his praise. He's spoken of the parties at Puffy Camp as wild, curious, and crazy. When asked if he'd send his own kids there, hell no, he answered without pause. That clip's been circulating for weeks, just one more thread in a much darker fabric. And then, there's the whisper network surrounding Justin Bieber. Former executives claim Diddy took a disturbing level of interest in mentoring him. Sugary social media posts, exotic trips, private performances, and no women in sight. Suge Knight, of all people, went on record saying Bieber could have been bigger than Michael Jackson if not for what was allegedly allowed to happen. We'll leave that one there for now.
Yeah, you're gonna hate me for that, I know. Yeah.
Why did you say no?
I didn't say no.
You didn't say yeah?
I didn't say yeah.
The pattern is undeniable. Diddy allegedly preyed on ambition, he offered glamour, protection, connections, but it came with a price, sometimes emotional, sometimes physical, often spiritual. And for the ones who took the deal, walked through the mansion doors, and chose silence for comfort, the reckoning is no longer hypothetical. It's happening now. As the music fades and the lawsuits stack up, the industry's old guard is grappling with a terrifying possibility. The walls are closing in, and the empire they helped build might have been rooted in rituals, not rhythms. Some are running, some are negotiating, and a few, just a few, are coming back to kneel. The revenge list isn't just real, it's active. And from what we're hearing, it's longer than anyone thought. These weren't just parties, they were battlegrounds. That's how a former bodyguard described the so-called freak-offs allegedly hosted by Diddy for years behind the gilded doors of his LA and Miami mansions. Celebrities arrived expecting luxury, private chefs, imported wines, the soft murmur of exclusivity. But some by morning were left picking up the pieces of something much darker. The guest lists, some of which were reportedly recovered during the federal raids in March, weren't just names. They were warnings. Singers, actors, models, billionaires. And now, as Diddy's release looms closer, those names are being protected like nuclear codes.
One, I didn't have a big brother, and my dad wasn't there in my life as a kid. So all these experiences just readied me for life.
Multiple insiders now claim that these events were not only filmed, but organized to be filmed. Hidden cameras disguised in mirrors, vents, furniture. Some say it was about leverage, others say it was control. If true, then this was never just about indulgence, it was infrastructure. A system designed to create obedience through exposure. Which begs the question, was loyalty bought or blackmailed? We've heard the whispers for years. Stories of a mysterious upstairs room in Diddy's LA mansion, locked from the inside. Guests called it the vault. According to a former employee, this was the room where the footage was stored. Drives, labeled, cataloged, organized by year and by face. None of this has been officially confirmed, of course. But when we consider how many stars have suddenly gone silent, how many powerful names have reportedly left the country without comment, does it even need to be?
So greater than just being an artist, that man helped me understand life. He helped me understand what it was to be an artist. He helped me understand what it was to be passionate about something.
One veteran producer told us, "You didn't say no to Diddy's invitation. If you said no, you weren't working that year." So people came. Some stayed for 10 minutes, some stayed until sunrise. But the thing no one can forget is the mood shift. When things started going from playful to strange. That's when the phones disappeared. That's when the contracts came out. And yes, multiple sources confirm that NDAs were required, some even signed mid-party. But it wasn't the legal paper that kept people quiet. It was the fear. Not everyone ran. In fact, a few have done the opposite. In the past several weeks, we've seen a growing wave of celebrities stepping forward with carefully worded public statements of support. Old collaborators posting throwback photos. Former partners calling for respect for due process. Are they loyal or just scared? Is this solidarity or self-preservation?
You mentioned L.A. Reid sent you to New York and you live with P. Diddy. They call it Flavor Camp.
Flavor Camp, yeah.
So what was that experience like and how did that help?
Take Mary J. Blige. She hasn't been named in any investigation, but her recent social posts hint at something more than nostalgia. Fans noticed a photo of her with Diddy from 2005, captioned simply with a broken heart emoji and the word forever. Then there's French Montana, who's remained vocal in defending his longtime mentor, calling the situation a setup on multiple live streams. But what about those who aren't talking? We've reached out to over a dozen known associates. Most declined to comment. A few responded with cryptic one-liners. One simply replied, "This town runs on silence." And then there's the strange, surreal spiral of Terrence Howard. His podcast interview with Patrick Bet-David lit a fuse under a conversation Hollywood has tried to keep buried. He didn't just accuse Diddy of making an advance, he called out an entire culture, one where success is handed out in exchange for silence, submission, or worse. Howard claimed Diddy asked him to teach him how to act, but when he showed up, there was no script, no scene work, just prolonged eye contact and uncomfortable energy. When he told his assistant, they replied, "I think he's trying to F you." But the more explosive part of Howard's comments wasn't about himself, it was about what others had given up. He said, "When you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it." He talked about celebrities, both men and women who sacrifice their dignity to get ahead. They have their Oscar, their money, but they don't have their soul. And judging by the eerily synchronized silence from many A-listers, maybe he wasn't wrong. Meanwhile, rumors about initiation rites at Diddy's parties have only grown louder. Multiple sources, including former dancers and assistants, describe ceremonial moments. Guests being blindfolded, led through strange rituals, asked to do things to prove loyalty. Some were filmed, some were threatened, others were offered luxury cars or record deals shortly after. And in a few cases, it's been suggested that those who refused the ritual were blacklisted from the industry completely.
And look, Justin is a fragile guy, and I don't think that's, I don't think that's a secret. I mean, we've seen that over the years. He was, great at a point and then just went downhill, came back up, went downhill again. So it does yo-yo, but what we're being told is, he's almost...
Is that why we haven't heard from certain names in years? Could it be that turning down Diddy wasn't just a career choice, it was exile? We can't ignore the growing weight of speculation surrounding Justin Bieber. The videos of him spending 48 hours with Diddy as a teen have resurfaced again and again, each time sparking new questions about who was really in control of that relationship. Diddy himself said in the clip, he's having the time of his life. But was he? Former label reps have remained uncharacteristically tight-lipped, and though Bieber has refused to comment, a close source recently hinted that he's not ready to talk publicly, but the day may come. There's also the bombshell from Suge Knight, who claimed point-blank that Bieber was exploited by grown men in his early career, that he was exposed to substances and situations no young performer should face. These allegations remain unverified, but they've only fueled speculation about who knew what and who did nothing. And then there's Ally Carter. Her story, once dismissed by some as internet fiction, is now being re-examined in chilling new light. She claims she was trafficked through the entertainment elite as a minor, that she was brought to Diddy's events not as a guest, but as a pawn. She called them satanic ritual orgies, not just parties. And though many are quick to write off her story, others now wonder if even half of what she says is true. What else has this industry covered up? Even Ray J, in a moment of either courage or recklessness, admitted that multiple high-profile celebrities have reached out to him, terrified. According to him, some are paying hush money to victims before their names get dragged into court. I don't even know why I just said it. He admitted, but I said it. So what? He didn't name names. But he didn't have to. In a town like this, silence is a language, and Ray J just broke protocol. We're watching an empire rot from the inside out. Diddy's trial may have ended with a split verdict, but the ripple effects are still crashing through the walls of the entertainment world. The upcoming sentencing could put him away for years, or it could mark his comeback. And if he walks out of that jail cell ready to talk, we could be looking at the most explosive chapter yet. What happens when the man with the keys to the kingdom decides to burn the castle down? Who survives, who gets named, and who scrambles to cut a deal before the spotlight swings in their direction? But what if Diddy doesn't talk? At least not to prosecutors or press. What if the real plan isn't confession but conquest? Multiple insiders have begun to float a theory that's as unsettling as it is plausible, that his return isn't a retreat into silence or shame, but a meticulously calculated reset. A comeback not in spite of the allegations, but fueled by them. In this twisted new landscape where controversy breeds influence, Diddy may not see himself as a disgraced figure at all. He may see himself as the phoenix, scarred, scorched, but rising. Some industry veterans say they've seen this before. Not at this scale, not with this level of federal scrutiny, but the pattern is familiar. A powerful man cornered, his empire under siege. And instead of bowing out quietly, he gathers what remains: loyalists, leverage, and blackmail, and prepares for a siege of his own. There are rumors that Diddy has already begun reaching out through intermediaries, not to apologize, to remind that he remembers who benefited, who watched, who cheered, and that some debts haven't been paid.
Different take. He's giving lost, and people who are lost seek somebody with all the power and all the authority. So it makes sense that he would gravitate to these pastors. He would gravitate to a figure like Scooter. And to add to your point, I do feel bad for Haley, because while he's mean mugging the paparazzi and then he's manically smiling with Big Red, it just gives fake, and then the fallout is on him.
If that's true, then the real threat isn't what Diddy might say, it's what he might do. With lawsuits mounting and a sentencing date approaching, there's a strategic advantage to pivoting from accused to aggressor. Leveraging public attention, reframing the narrative, and pressing pressure points on people who don't want their own skeletons examined. That's how a wounded king reclaims his crown. Not through redemption, but through fear. And it's working, at least in part. Already we've seen small signs. A few deals quietly revived, some music catalogs reassessed, former collaborators hinting at reconciliation. He may be toxic, but toxicity has its own currency in this era. The more dangerous question now isn't whether Diddy will fade into infamy, it's whether he's planning to flip the script, using notoriety as leverage, controversy as capital, because if he can't be loved, he can still be feared. And in certain circles, that's more valuable.
It is the most clear cry for help that Justin Bieber has posted. And he's been posting a lot of things that you've heard fans that they're very alarmed and they think that he needs to get help. But this one there's nothing cryptic about it. Justin posted a message to everyone who's concerned about him, I guess. He said, "People keep telling me to heal. Don't you think if I could have fixed myself, I would have already?"
So we're left with a final, haunting question. What happens when a man who's lost everything decides he wants it all back? Not the fame, not the flash, but the power. The kind that makes people fall in line when they see his name on a call sheet or a guest list. The kind that survives scandals, accusations, even convictions. If Diddy is preparing for war, then Hollywood's reckoning hasn't ended. It's only just begun. As the countdown to Diddy's release begins, one thing is becoming disturbingly clear. Hollywood isn't just scared of what he did. They're scared of what he knows. But what do you think? If Diddy really has the receipts, Who's most at risk? And who's already made their quiet exit before the storm? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is just beginning. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you on the next one.